Hey guys, this is Charlie from Submission Control. I have here with me Romero, Jacare, Cavalcanti. How's it going, Professor?
Pretty good, man. Very glad to be here in New York.
So, Professor, you're the head of one of the most successful BJJ teams of all time. What's your secret?
Well, the secret is hard work. There is no secret. The secret is work every day on the mat with passion. Have the guys, training. Have the guys organized as a team. And putting them to compete and gathering, the experience, to be, world champions.
Aside from a few here and there, why do you think there are so few American Mundial champions at the black belt level while there's so many in the other levels?
Well, I think we're getting there. It's just a matter of time. In the black belt, the Brazilians pretty much, still dominate, the main tournaments. But I think it's just a matter of time. In a little while, I think we're going to have, some black belts, American champions. We have in every other belt, and I think it's just a matter of time.
A lot of people say that the past black belts will not be as competitive as compared to the fighters today. How do you think Rolls Gracie would fare compared to Marcelo Garcia?
Man, it's hard to compare, Rolls was the best at his time, and Marcelo now is the best of his time. The sport has evolved tremendously, and also the conditioning, the supplements, everything evolved. So you cannot compare, the guys that won the Olympic medal in 1970 with the guys that are winning the Olympic medals right now. There is an evolution. Jiu-Jitsu is a sport, and I think, the guys that are champions today, they have more tools than the guys that were, champions in the past. So it's very hard to compare.
Rolls was a huge influence in your life. His approach to learning was very revolutionary for martial arts. I'm referring to his approach to drawing from many sources in order to grow his own jiu-jitsu. Do you encourage this philosophy amongst your students?
Well, back in the days, jiu-jitsu was trying to evolve in other aspects. So Rolls went outside to do more wrestling, and he brought a lot of new, positions with this type of cross training. Nowadays, I think we know enough to be able to teach, in our schools, everything the guys need, to compete in a high level. But of course, there is room for improvement. If I have a guy that is like an all-American, wrestler, and he can give me some tips, especially for the no-gi, training, Abu Dhabi and stuff like that, I think is valid. But in the other areas, I think we already have the knowledge, like the leg locks and the foot locks. At first, we were trying to train with the Sambo guys, but I think now Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, they do much better than the other martial arts, I think the last Abu Dhabi was a proof of that. We saw all the Brazilian black belts, the top level guys, not only the black belts, but the guys that do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on a regular basis with the gi, and they were going for foot locks like crazy, and I think, it evolved a lot. In the World Championship with the gi, also people finishing with a lot of foot locks, and I think now we have the tools, to teach our students, what it's all about.
Right, there was a lot of foot locks and leg locks in this year's Abu Dhabi.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was insane, Yeah.
With the growth of MMA, have you noticed that people are abandoning the gi? to some points, people are saying that gi is no longer relevant in modern martial arts. What's your opinion about that?
Well, if the guy is gonna fight just MMA, I think he should train a little bit with the gi. You can see the guys that are on top of their games, like Anderson Silva, for example. He does a lot of cross training with the gi. The gi teach you to be a lot tighter. It's a lot harder to train, with the gi and escape from certain situations. So the guys, they start to have, a really good knowledge. Marcelo Garcia is a living, proof of that, because he's the best guy in the world, doing no gi, and he still, train a lot with the gi, even when he's going to compete in the no gi tournaments. So I think if the guys in MMA realize that if they train with the gi, they're going to get better, somehow they would be training with the gi a little bit more than they train actually.
On the subject of MMA, your Alliance team is well renowned for its ground game, but it's strictly traditional jiu-jitsu, while Caesar's team, Renzo's team, Nolan Yao, with a very strong background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, now have a good strong presence in MMA. Is Alliance looking to change this?
No, our focus is pretty much on, traditional jiu-jitsu. Right now we have some guys that do MMA. Sergio Moraes, has been doing some MMA, and all the guys. In the past, Fabio Gurgel, that was my first black belt, he fought MMA. But it's not our focus. Our focus is on teaching jiu-jitsu to the general public, is to teach jiu-jitsu not only to the competitors, but also to everybody. So I think this is our focus, right now. Maybe it's going to change. Maybe some schools, they have some guys, they like to do MMA. In my school in Atlanta, I used to train guys for MMA, but I'm no longer doing that, Now my focus is strictly, on BJJ.